Hello there. Welcome to a mixed martial arts conversation for Sky Sports. Bellator returns early hours of Saturday morning, 3 a.m. on Sky Sports Mix, headlined by Michael Chandler v Benson Henderson 2. Very pleased to say that MMA legend, a man we're working on the card as an analyst, that Chael Sonnen joins us once again. Chael, how are you? How's life in Connecticut treating you?
How am I? I'm still famous and I'm still rich. I'd say I'm doing all right. How about yourself?
Neither of those two, but life's pretty good still. You excited about the weekend coming up? You looking forward to this? You getting into the swing of the new normal?
Yeah, I'm pumped, man. So we're back to the Mohegan Sun. That's the second time I've been here. I was blown away with how the stage looked, how the way they did the set and reconfigured some stuff that brought the cameras in all around. Ramp is there, cage is there, but just the way they made the theater look and feel, I thought it was beautiful. Plus, this time we get to see Benson and Chandler finally settle their business. That's fun too.
Yeah, how intrigued by this? Obviously, it's November 2016, the first match between Michael Chandler and Benson Henderson. Henderson unhappy with the result last time. Have you looked back at that fight? Have you had differing opinions? What was your take on their first encounter?
I thought the judges got it right. It was a very close fight, and they could have given it to Benson. I mean, it wasn't a robbery. I thought they were going to give it to Benson. They raised Chandler's hand, but I didn't argue about that as much as I just thought the same thing that Scott Coker thought, which is, let's do this one again.
Yeah, that's great. It's great. It's great. It's happening again. We spoke to John McCarthy and Josh Thompson, who are actually in unison over this, perhaps for a rarity, but they both said that Benson needs to start faster. When you look back at the previous fight, especially in the context of it being a 5-round fight last time, do you agree with that? And as a former fighter, how easy is it to change your approach and your pace early on in a fight?
Yeah, that's been a frustrating thing about Benson. He's in such good shape. Cardio-wise, Benson can go harder than anybody, longer than anybody, but he doesn't use it. I mean, what good is having a tool on a job site if you don't pull it out? A job calls for a hammer. I have a hammer, but I left it in my truck. I've never really understood that. Yes, Benson needs to go out there and start a fight. The more chaos, the better. The tighter and harder and grittier a fight is, the better it is for Benson. Benson, even on a bad night where he comes in second, Benson never gets beat up. Benson never gets outclassed or whipped. Nobody's ever made Benson look like he doesn't belong in there. Benson Henderson can go with anybody. Now, it just happens we're discussing the toughest weight class in the entire sport, not just this promotion of Bellator. It could be UFC as well. The toughest sport in the world right now is the one that Benson's at, and it's going to be some musical chairs. You're not going to win all of those fights. But, yes, I think he's very competitive. I think his best days are still ahead of him.
Yeah, it's interesting on that note of candor and how difficult the division is that Michael Chandler has said this is a quote, that he realizes that he probably is not going to finish Benson in this fight and expects to beat him by unanimous decision. What do you expect with that in mind? Do you feel it's going to be a grappling match? We saw the suplex in the first one, didn't we? What's your take on how it's going to play out? Is Chandler playing mind games with us and Benson?
Well, Chandler's definitely doing some posturing there, but I mean, this fight's going to be everywhere. It's going to be very gritty. Both of these guys are excellent off their back. Should one use the energy and effort and technique to get them there, they're not going to get much reward for it. The other one can get back up, and now you're punching and kicking and pushing on each other. I mean, I like to watch these guys compete. The fact that they're going to compete against each other as far as excitement goes, man, there's going to be a lot of things that happen here, but I would think that Chandler is playing with us if he tells you it's going to be a one-dimensional contest. It's just not his choice, and it's just not the way Benson fights.
Yeah, you've been outlining before we started recording the complications that you're going through in the pandemic era and all the people there, the fighters and the media. Chandler's final fight under the contract with Bellator, how much pressure does that put on him, particularly in the global sort of economy and the situation at the moment?
Well, it's a spot that he put on himself. I mean, they've been happy to say we want to re-sign you, and he's been very happy to say, let me get out there and let's play the numbers game a little bit. One time left in my whole career, and I want to see where my value is at. I don't blame him for that, but I do think you bring up a fair point. I mean, not knowing where home is or if you get to go back home after a fight is a very unique situation. He put himself here, but I concede to you that's a lot of pressure.
With Michael Chandler, do you feel that Dana White might be taking a look at him as well if he wins well at the weekend?
Oh, I think that he would. Dana would never say something like that. Dana would never interfere with anybody that was under contract anywhere else. But if that played out, whatever the time was, if Chandler wanted to make a call, sure. I don't think that Chandler would love the numbers. I don't think that there's a huge use for him at 155 pounds right now on that side of the tracks. I think that he will like the numbers he sees. I think he'll be reminded of how well he's being treated. But that's for Chandler to find out. I wouldn't have any ill will. He's been here a long time. If he wants to just go get a new experience, man, I wouldn't blame him at all.
What do you expect for fighters in terms of negotiating contracts? Is there a reckoning and something going to happen? Scott Coker was on here speaking to us a couple of weeks ago, very candid. He said, look, we're honoring current contracts, but the reality is that the expenditure has increased and the revenues have dropped with a lack of ticket sales.
Yeah, that's just kind of the way it is. Dana White had a very similar line to the one Coker used, where he said you could not have picked a worse time to be asking for more money. But we're going to honor all of our deals. Everybody's going to get what they were told they were going to get. But as far as to get something new, I don't really see how that's going to happen right now. I thought that was fair. I accepted that answer.
Yeah, fair enough. I think it's a reality everyone's dealing with. You actually just saw an announcement about Arsenal Football Club, Premier League club in the UK, is having to let people go. So it's a difficult time for a lot of people. Now, the winner of this fight, do you expect them to get a shot at Pitbull for that title?
I think so. I think that makes some sense. There's a few guys floating around, but I think so. And I don't think Benson has ever been matched up with Pitbull. I'd have to check that. But I think, with some parity specifically, it would be fun. And yes, to look at this match, two former champions to then view that as a number one contenders match, I think that's fair.
Yeah, and possibly take Pitbull out of the featherweight Grand Prix to have a matchup. If it was Chandler, to bring him back into the fold with a new contract as well, would that be something you could foresee happening?
Sure, that's something I hope that happens. I always thought those two had an unsettled business. I thought Chandler got caught. I thought there were some more minutes there, and I know the competitor in Chandler, I know he would agree with me. Great.
Well, Chael, give us a prediction for the main event then. Benson Henderson against Michael Chandler.
I'm going to take the underdog here. I watched these guys fight once. I know how great they are. I know this is very close. I know this is going to the distance, but I think that Benson Henderson has just been – I like what he's doing in training. I like that he's going and doing full contact grappling matches just for workouts, just to get better. I'm seeing him do those. I believe he is getting better. Look, that first fight was won by a hair, the nose of a hair, if you will. I think Benson's made that gap. I'm taking the underdog. I'm taking smooth Benson Henderson. Yeah, maybe there'll be a third one as well, a trilogy to settle it if that's the case. That'll be interesting down the line. Now, in terms of that possibly going the distance, what about the co-main event and the heavyweight tussle between Matt Mitrione and Timothy Johnson? Now, I guess in terms of fortunes, Benson Henderson may be learning on the job. We talked about that. Matt Mitrione in with a bang, got the big win over Fedor with the double knockdown, Roy Nelson as well, but had those losses as well to Ryan Bader, Sergei Karatanov. How do you see his situation? Because you're, as a recently retired fighter yourself, you know that he's at an age, I suppose, where people will start to ask questions of him. Well, Bader's hard to beat. I apologize. Mitrione's hard to beat. He just moves so well. He's such a great athlete. His feet are always doing the right thing. And he knows right where his body's at. I mean, I've seen guys throw perfect punches at him. He doesn't even flinch. He doesn't even get out of the way at all. He knows it's going to be a quarter inch. I mean, I've seen more air balls thrown at his face where he doesn't even blink an eye. It's really quite remarkable how good his eyes are in the sport. He's just very difficult to hit. For Tim to beat him, Tim's going to have to hit him. He's going to have to catch him the same way as he did Tyrell. I think that that's possible. And I think that if it's a slowed down Matt Mitrione, it becomes even more possible. But I would tell you it would surprise me. As far as name power and as far as placement in this career, I think that Mitrione is heads and shoulders above where Tim's at today. Yeah, we had a conversation, I believe, a couple of months ago about Justin Gaethje moving away from wrestling. I think Timothy Johnson has said he's done something similar, moved away from wrestling over the last few years in terms of how he goes about his fighting. Would you expect him to maybe avoid, though, too much sort of striking one-on-one with Mitrione? No, I think these two knuckleheads are going to come out and just throw everything at one another. I think one of them goes down the first round. I don't know who that's going to be. They both got pretty good chins, but they both got even better power in their hands. I think if Mitrione can find some of those leg kicks, he can change Tim pretty early. Mitrione just kicks like a mule. If he can get 2 or 3 of those inside leg kicks, it'll be a little bit of a different fight. But no, I don't think we're gonna have intelligence between these two. You and I can see what would make sense to do strategically for a fight. Those two knuckleheads are just going to go swing. Yeah, well, I think it'll make for a great spectacle. That's probably why we're all excited about it as well. With Mitrione, we talk about what people bring into mixed martial arts in terms of background. This American football background, distinguished, prestigious career, I suppose, at college football and played in the NFL. Does that add to his armory anyway? I think it adds to what an athlete he is. I think it adds to the fact that he's just a winner. Everything Matt Mitrione's ever tried to do in life, he has found a way to succeed at the highest of levels. He's found a way to humble himself and to learn new sports, to study and prepare for them. I think it's a feather in his cap there. No, as far as the actual skills of football, I mean, come on, dude. I haven't played football. I'm 40 years old and retired. I still have a few more years for my body to break down and diminish. And when it finally does, I'll go play American football.
Really? Wow. Yeah, defensive tackle sounds pretty brutal to me. But in terms of that, you mentioned that being retired at 40. He's into his 40s. How do you know when it's time to retire and go?
Well, I talked to Matt about that, and Matt's been pretty open, saying, look, I guess my number's on the horizon. I guess just looking around, it seems to be what other people do. He said, but Chael, I really enjoy it. I enjoy every day going in, helping my teammates, looking forward to a fight coming up. He said, and I think this is fair, he said, I think my career was going to be extended longer than some of my predecessors just because I don't have to cut weight. I've never had to cut down to the limit. I never had to put those kinds of strains on my body like the rest of you guys do. Most athletes have 2 fights every fight. You got to fight and beat the scale. Then you got to try to recover and go out there and fight and compete with your opponent. And Mitrione's only had to do half of that. I thought it was a fair point by him. Look, if he likes doing it and he appears to still like doing it, he can go a while, man. Mitrione's special.
Yeah, he certainly is. It's an incredible athletic career. What's your prediction for this fight?
I like Matt Mitrione in the fight. I think that Tim Johnson's going to fall in love with that right hand a little bit too much. That's what happens with guys generally when they knock somebody out and it's their first big knockout. I think that he probably thinks he can go out and do that to anybody. And I think Mitrione's just got a few more tricks in the bag, particularly that inside leg kick to soften him up.
Oh, great. Well, look forward to it. Anything else on the undercard that we should be particularly looking out for?
Yes, there's one more fight. AJ Agazon versus Chris Lenzione. That they've just made that fun. AJ is claiming that he beat Chris in a submission grappling match. AJ saying, man, not only did you not beat me, I didn't beat you. I didn't even wrestle you. That match never happened. And AJ is going crazy. And Chris now has evidence that it happened. He's providing the evidence later today. It's just one of these things, no matter how ridiculous, it is ridiculously fun.
That's a great subplot. Who wins that one then?
Oh, I think Chris would beat AJ in a mixed martial arts fight. Probably just go out there and kickbox him to death, score points, 10-9 must system, go all 3 rounds, but win all 3 rounds.
Good for. Look forward to it. Sky Sports Mix, 3 a.m. on the early hours of Saturday, our time in the UK for that. Very much look forward to the card and watching and listening to you. Really appreciate your time, Chael, and good luck on the weekend. Look forward to seeing you in action.
I feel inclined to tell you the same because like politeness, like social etiquette, but in truth, this, you really didn't bring a lot to the interview, but you're welcome.
Very honest of you.